I'm Dr. Orion Taraban, and this is PsycHacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is Women Need Game Too. This one is for the ladies. Women, it turns out you also need game. Game is not just for the boys. However, men and women need game for different reasons. Let me help you understand this. Let's say you're about to go on a first date with a guy you matched with on a dating app. You're probably not thinking to yourself, I hope he'll let me smash. Like, I hope the date goes so well that he'll take me back to his place and do whatever he wants with me. There might be some women out there that think that, and feel free to get in touch with me if that's you, but they're decidedly in the minority. My understanding is that women generally dislike dating. If they're thinking anything before the date, it's probably something like, please God, please Jesus Allah Buddha, please make him better than the last guy. Please make this the last first date I ever have to go on. Please hear my prayer. And that's because women generally want relationships, and if they could skip right to that part, they would. However, they can't, so dating is something of a necessary evil for them. This is also why they're generally not very good at it, but that's the subject for another episode. In any case, that's my understanding of how women tend to approach first dates. However, it's also true that most women have had sex with a guy on the first date. How did that happen? That wasn't the woman's primary intention going into the date, right? Did she just stumble into bed? No, it happened because that was the guy's primary intention and because he had game. That is, the guy was able to sufficiently stimulate that woman's interest and attraction and confidently lead the interaction in the direction of a sexual encounter. After all, women are the gatekeepers of sex. So sex happened because the guy was able to find a way inside. Nice work, guy. The point is that most women don't go into that situation hoping for or expecting that outcome, and yet that outcome happens every day. That's game. Now, let's take a look at it from the other side, shall we? As a guy, I can tell you that when we're about to go on a first date with a woman that we matched with on a dating app, we are not thinking, I hope she's the one. I hope this is the love of my life and my future wife and the mother of my children. I hope she's willing to take it slow and that she's ready for a serious relationship, because that's sure what I want. Now, there might be some men out there who think that way, but they are decidedly in the minority. Most men are thinking, I hope she looks like her pictures and she lets me smash. That's how men tend to approach first dates. However, it's also true that men end up getting married and starting families. How did that happen? That wasn't the guy's primary intention when he started pursuing her. Did he just stumble onto the altar? No. It happened because that was the woman's primary intention and because she had some game. That is, the woman sufficiently stimulated the man's interest and attraction and was able to direct the interaction in the direction of a committed relationship. After all, men are the gatekeepers of commitment. So commitment happened because the woman was able to find a way to get inside. Nice work, lady. The point is that most men don't go into that situation hoping for or expecting that outcome. And yet that outcome happens every day. That's game. Now, before I go any further, if you're liking what you're hearing, please consider sending this episode to someone who might benefit from its message, because it's word of mouth referrals like this that really help to make the channel grow. You can also hit the thanks button and tip me in proportion to the value you feel you've received from this message. It's donations like that that really help to keep the lights on here. I don't do corporate sponsorships or product placements, even though I get 50 offers every day to do that. This helps me stay independent and allows me to produce this high quality content for you. I really appreciate it. Thank you. As any woman who has dated for a while has learned, committed relationships generally don't happen if men are just left to their own devices. Most men are totally fine keeping things casual indefinitely. This is because, as I talked about in my episode, Men Treat Women the Way Women Treat Money, we already had to work really hard just to get sexually selected. So we want to enjoy our time, not take on a second job. Most men don't have relationship goals, like women do. That's because the goal of most men is to get laid. They don't think much beyond that. This is because the vast majority of men are incredibly hungry for sex, and they would be absolutely ravenous if they weren't anesthetizing themselves with pornography. When people are starving, all they think about is food. They're not really interested in what happens after dinner. Now, women, you might be disgusted by this. You might think, oh, if I just want sex, go somewhere else. But it's like, that's actually, men are so easy to get into relationships with because of that. That's where they're so vulnerable. That's what I'd like you to consider, is that this is an opportunity for you. It's not something that like should be considered beneath you. In any case, most men don't have a problem with dating casually. And if women aren't satisfied with that, then like men on a first date looking to have sex with a woman who wasn't principally focused on doing so, women need game to guide the situation in the direction of a committed relationship. And let me tell you, most women are terrible at this. They are terrible. Most of them just flat out tell the guy that they're looking for a committed relationship. And it's like, yeah, and? What you have to understand, ladies, is that that line is like a man telling you that he's looking for casual sex. Like, what is that to you, right? How often do you fuck men who talk to you like that? Hardly ever, right? And yet you do fuck men, and the men you do fuck don't talk to you like that, do they? The same is true for you. Men don't just hand out committed relationships to women because they're looking for them. It doesn't work. This is because a strange woman asking me if I want to have a committed relationship with her sounds about as appealing as if she had asked me if I wanted to have unnecessary dental surgery this weekend. Saying this because you don't want to waste your time ends up wasting your time, because it works about as well as a guy saying he doesn't want to waste his time on a date if you can't first reassure him that there's a strong likelihood that he'll have sex at the end of it. Like, it's going to take a long time for him to not waste his time, isn't it, ladies? If trying to set expectations that sex will be in the cards prior to a date doesn't work on you, ladies, then trying to set expectations that a committed relationship will be in the cards prior to an interaction isn't going to work on us. There's no game here. It's so inelegant. It doesn't work. And without game, you can't get past the gatekeeper. If you're a man, that means no date and no sex. And if you're a woman, that means no date and no committed relationship. Remember, wanting is free. Simply wanting what you want is not sufficient to getting it. Like, if a man thought that a woman should just give him sex because he wanted it and didn't want to waste his time if a woman wasn't interested, wouldn't you find that disgusting? Wouldn't you find that narcissistically entitled? Men earn their sexual opportunity, and they do this by being sufficiently attractive and possessing enough skill to guide a burgeoning connection in the direction of sexual intimacy. Women do the same thing. You earn your commitment, and you do this by being sufficiently attractive and possessing enough skill to guide a connection in the direction of a committed relationship. That's female game. And if you don't have it, it will be very hard for you to get that commitment, especially in today's day and age where there is significantly less social pressure to give it. Because let's be real, what game women have historically possessed is akin to dread game in men. The goal was to make men sufficiently uncomfortable for not giving you what you wanted until they gave you what you wanted. And the principal way this was accomplished was through shame. And this worked. Not all the time, but at least it was something. You need to man up. A real man would respect me and my time. And of course, the takeaway, if you don't give me what I want, I'm leaving. Imagine if a man did this for sex and was pressuring you to do that. And to be fair, some do. And they do it for the same reason that women do this. It works. Not all the time, but some of the time on some of the people. The issue here is that women's game, where it exists, is always negative. It doesn't make us interested or excited to give you what you want. When it works by making us nervous or uncomfortable to not give you what you want. And listen to this next part very closely, ladies. This only works on guys who don't have other options. And those guys aren't typically the ones you're trying this on. Do you understand? Women, you have to appreciate that most men will have sex with most of you. So the amount of interest that you have to generate in a man in order for him to be willing to have sex with you is very low. That is why, among other things, it's no real accomplishment for a woman to get laid. Like, we don't call it getting lucky when a woman has sex, right? However, the amount of interest that you have to generate in a man in order for him to be willing to commit to you is extraordinarily high, and it's high in proportion to his optionality. It's not going to get there by itself. Just like in the majority of cases, a woman's interest in having sex with any particular guy isn't going to get there by itself. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's not true, Orion. It's gotten there by itself with me. My response would be that that's because the guy you were dealing with was so good that you didn't even notice what he was doing. And that is the epitome, the highest level to which game can attain. Namely, it becomes invisible to the other party, and the other person doesn't even realize it's happening. Same thing. When women have very good game, the men think it's their idea to advance the relationship in the direction of her preferred level of commitment. This isn't something that typically men give you any more than you're just handing sex out to men. It's something that you get men to give you. Expecting men to give you what you want just because you want it, or just because enough time has passed, is a belief you need to examine, ladies. The fact of the matter is that you can get any man that you have direct access to. I am not kidding. You can get any man you want. And I'm going to be doing some episodes on this subject in the near future. But to get him, you have to have game. You can't get him by doing whatever you want. You can get any man you want, but you can't get him doing anything you want. There are certain ways that you have to behave to do that. Now, let me tell you, there are millions of men right now who are out there making it their second job studying what women want just so that they can get laid. And in today's market, frankly, sex isn't even all that valuable. Like, it's not that hard to get. So ladies, if you want something extremely expensive, like a committed relationship with a high value man, you had better hit the books and learn what works. Otherwise, I got no sympathy for you. Just keeping it a buck. What do you think? Does this fit with your own experience? Let me know in the comments below. And if you've gotten this far, you might as well like this episode and subscribe to this channel. You may also consider becoming a channel member or booking a paid consultation. As always, thank you for listening.